to Indiana News Desk. I'm Joe Wren. A bill that restricts abortions in Indiana is scheduled to go into effect July 1st. Governor Mike Pence signed it into law at the conclusion of this year's legislative session. Opponents are hoping to keep the law from ever taking effect. They're taking their challenge to court next week, claiming its restrictions are unconstitutional. As Drew Dodlin reports, some say the fight is emblematic of America's increasingly toxic political climate.
Abortion remains as controversial as ever, but a bill passed this year in Indiana which bans abortions based on race, sex, and disability and prohibits the selling of fetal tissue has garnered an especially harsh response. Headlines said the law was one of the most restrictive in the nation, that it featured severe, totally unenforceable restrictions, and that after its signing, women's rights in Indiana are dead. Planned Parenthood and the American Civil Liberties Union of Indiana are suing the state over the bill, claiming its provision banning abortions based on certain criteria is unconstitutional.
Well, we have seen an enormous increase in the number of abortion restrictions enacted by state legislatures in the last few years. Even still, though, I was shocked.
Law professor Don Johnson says the long list of reasons why a woman won't be able to get an abortion was what shocked her most. She says like many other abortion restriction laws, it is blatantly unconstitutional.
In many instances, the legislatures and the governors who sign those bills know they're unconstitutional. And sometimes the effort is to get a case up to the Supreme Court, to ask the Supreme to cut back on the right.
Every right is, no matter how important, is balanced against important state interests.
Bob helped develop the language for the bill. He says it protects unborn babies from discrimination, citing the large number of fetuses diagnosed with Down syndrome that are aborted.
Planned Parenthood is a zealous advocate for abortion on demand. They think that abortion can be performed for absolutely any reason, and as a result, I'm not surprised that they challenge the law.
While you can still see the dividing line between pro-life and pro-choice camps, the conversation around the bill has been a bit more unpredictable. Most notably, a group of Republicans, some who have worked on anti-abortion bills, spoke out against the new bill. Republican Representative Sharon Nagel told the Associated Press, "The bill does nothing to save innocent lives. There's no education, there's no funding, it's just penalties." And with the mention of discrimination, it's impossible not to make the connection to another controversial topic this session, the Republican majority trying and failing to pass an anti-discrimination law for members of the LGBT community. Johnson says the fact that Republicans are now championing anti-discrimination is a cynical attempt to Trojan horse an unconstitutional law.
I feel that it's time, ideally, to stop fighting that way and have instead a common ground effort to reduce the need for abortion through promoting contraception.
If killing babies in the womb because they're black is not a problem, then the law doesn't do anything. It only prevents the intentional killing of a baby in the womb because the baby is black, or because the baby's a woman, or because the baby is disabled. If nobody's doing that, then it has no effect. So my question is, why do they object to it?
And joining us now to talk about some of the details in this case is reporter Drew Dodlin. Drew, let's just start with, if you could explain what is the constitutional argument being made by the ACLU on behalf of Planned Parenthood.
There are three challenges coming from the ACLU, maybe the most significant having to do with the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. So the 14th Amendment was the foundation for Roe v. Wade, the 1973 case, which said that states could no longer outlaw or regulate abortions within the first trimester. An important part of that decision was the Supreme Court said that a woman's right to privacy extends to her decision to get an abortion. So lawyers from the ACLU are going to argue that the provision in this new bill that bans abortions in that first trimester because of certain motivations it removes that autonomy that was put in place.
So the case starts Tuesday. What are people expecting?
The people I talked to on both sides are pretty confident, but even opponents of the bill, like Don Johnson, expect some of it to go through. The specific part that she and others that I talked to don't expect to get through the court system is that provision that I just talked about that bans first trimester abortions based on certain motivations.
So the law goes into effect next month. If that's the case, still going on when that happens, then how will that affect the woman?
The ACLU has filed for a preliminary injunction So the judge will hear that this Tuesday. If he accepts that injunction, then the new law will not go into effect July 1st if the case is still ongoing. So it will basically wait until the case is over if he accepts the injunction.
And then just really quick, Indiana University tried joining that lawsuit but were rejected. What's the latest on that?
So IU is interested in sort of a different part of the bill. There's another part that says it would no longer be legal to buy, sell, or receive fetal tissue. And that was put in response to the allegations against Planned Parenthood that they were illegally selling fetal tissue for profit, which a federal judge ruled did not happen. But it was still put in place, and so IU is interested in that because if that happens, it will hinder the research that they're doing on neurological diseases, specifically Alzheimer's.
Okay, we got to go, but thank you very much,
Yeah,
Drew.
no problem, thanks.